Great. So I think today is day 13 of Playwright, right? And what we have to cover is let's open the documentation. I noticed that I did not cover page thing completely. So there are a lot of methods here, right, on the page side, which we need to know. We just covered a couple of them. So we'll be first today working to complete this page part today, and tomorrow we'll move to the locator part. Okay. So the page section. So page, as we know, page is equivalent to one tab on the browser, right? So this is one tab. This is another tab. So when you say page, you if you say you are opening a new page, you're doing something like this, right? Okay. So this is one thing, right? What all methods? What all methods we need to know from this? A second, I have prepared a list of it. Okay, some of the methods you're already aware. We have been doing something like this, right? Page dot go to, right? Which is to open the URL, right, in the tab, right? That is how it works. Page dot go to. We have seen a method called context, right, which returns the context under which this page was opened, right? A context is a browser context, right, which is equivalent to one browser session, right? So if you want to get access to the context itself, this is the method which you will choose, right? But there are many other methods, right, available on the page side which we should be knowing. I've tried to categorize them under different buckets, so let's look at them from that perspective. So there are a lot of methods available from the navigation perspective. Okay, one of the methods which we already know is the go to method. This is to do what? You can provide a URL here, right, string value, and it will open the browser, right, for you. It will open the URL in the tab, right, in that tab, whatever tab you're doing, page dot, right, go to. The other methods which you have here is a reload. Means what? It means a refresh, right? You just press on this, you see it says reload this page. So you can do this by doing a reload method, right, and it will reload the page. Okay. Third thing, we have go backward. There is a name called go back. So if let's say you are on this page, right, you see a go back, this button, right? So if you click on it, it will move to the previous page from where it came, right? Similarly, if you would have if this thing is link is available, right? Because might be if you do this, right, and now this is available. If you do this is go forward, right? So this is go forward. So if you want to achieve that objective, then you can do this go forward part. There are other methods. What do we have? Go forward, go back, reload, close, right? Close is another method, right? What does close do? Close, if you have only what close will do, right? Let's understand some cases, right? If you have let's say a context, right? So this is one context, and you have, so this is like one browser session, and if you have only one tab and you say page dot close, right? So you're closing a tab. Since it is only one tab, it will also close this UI of the context also, right? But consider the case where you have two pages opened up like this, and you say close on one of them. What will happen? It will close only this tab and not this one. So you will still see this browser being opened up, right? So close does what on a page? It closes that particular page only. But depending on the context, depending on like, do you have other pages remaining opened up? So accordingly, you will see the browser getting collapsed or getting closed or not, right? So it will depend, but it will definitely close the tab for sure. Okay. Next is what we have. Go to we have done is close. Yeah. So when you say close, right? So there is a method called is close, which is to check whether the page which is referred by this object here, page, right, whether it is really closed or not, right? If it would be closed, it would be returning you a true value. Otherwise, it would say false. Okay. Uh, you see uh, you see a title here, right? Untitled mirror, right? This is the title of the page. If you are interested to get the title of this page, right, there's a method called title, right? So you can use it. It will return you the title. If you wish to receive the URL, right, of the page which you are on, you can use a method called URL. So these are the methods, right, which you should be knowing from the navigation perspective, right? We will let's start exploring this one by one. We will make use of our extension now very extensively because now we know about all of that. Okay, so I think test dot script. We are on day 13 only. I have already created a branch. Test case 14, let's say, async, right? And we would like to inject the page, right? So this. Okay, now what we'll do is we will let's first do this, right? So when you are using page as a fixture, right, you will automatically get a page. What you will do is you will say page dot go to. You want to hit a URL, right? Let's say I will be hitting a URL of Facebook, facebook.com, right? Great. Now once you have done this, let's say you would like to, okay, we have to do await, right? Await. So this is one method which we have been using. It will hit the URL. Second thing, what we'll do is we will try to, let's say, reload the page. Await page dot reload, right? You can see reload here. Okay, if you see this, right, okay, we have to talk about it. What is this document? DOM content loaded, network idle, commit, load, right? If you see, right, reload as a method, right, can expect, right, an option field, right, inside it. But this is optional, right? This is optional. If you want it, you can do it. If you don't want it, just leave it like this. It will do what? It will just go and reload the page. Okay. Uh, Ignore that this strategy, right? This wait until strategy. I'll talk about it today only. So, but as of now, you can just understand it is reload. If you go to the go to method also, right? Go to method also, right, has similar kind of a thing, right? Options, right? Where you have a wait until. Okay. But again, I would suggest, right, the default way with which these methods works are sufficient for us to use. Okay. You would not want these methods, right, or these wait until strategies to be applied, because by default what strategy is being applied is the best strategy, which is the load strategy. Okay, which is this one, load strategy, right? If I can show you what shows that part here, options, no, it is not showing, but that's the load strategy which is being applied. I'll talk about what are these strategies, but the way I'm writing it, these are sufficient for us to use. Okay, go to reload. What we have is, we will say, let's say I want to retrieve the URL of the page. What I can do is, let's see, page.url, right? If you see, right, URL returns your string. So if it is not returning your promise, so that's why there is no need to use await. What I can do is I can directly use console.log and put it here, and we are good. And I will just print here URL opened is this one, right? So third method. Fourth method, I would like to get the title of the page. So let's say again, title of the page is, I believe, also gives you only string value. No, it returns you a promise. Okay, it returns your promise. So if it is returns your promise, you will have to use await here. Let title goes to this. Now let's print this. I will say console.log title is it is starting, right? The title we are done. Reload URL, go backward and go forward, right? Let us do one thing. Okay, let's say I have opened the Facebook page on it, right? And now I would like to navigate to some other page. Let's say podcast. So what I will do is I will say page dot go to again, right? So go to is a method if you wanted to hit the URL, right? So this is the method which you have. You will do again https podcast.in. Right now, if you understand, right, what is happening is, first of all, you hit the Facebook page. Now that was like one URL which you have already navigated to. Now you're hitting another URL which is podcast. Now what you can do is you will see that back button being enabled, right? So if it is enabled, what I will do is I will now press page dot go back, right? Similarly, what you can do is now once you have pressed go back, now you will navigate back to the Facebook page, right? Now once you're on the Facebook page, I would like to move forward now, and now it will result into moving to the podcast page, right? Page dot go forward. Okay, so this is what we should be doing. We have titled this and all. What I missed, close, right? Now let's check whether our page is closed or not, right? Await page dot is closed. Like what does it return? It returns you a boolean value without a promise. So no await required. So let me clear is closed equals to this, right? I will print console.log is my page closed. I will say is closed, right? Okay, so it's closed. Now I will go ahead and close the page. Okay, so if I do this, I will say page dot close, right? Now if I do this right now, right, the page is getting closed, and since it was the only page opened up in the browser, it will close the browser also from the UI, right? Great. Okay, fine. And what we can do is page dot close, right? And now let's check this again, right? Is the page closed or not? So I'll run it again, right? Okay, I will not say let here. It is already defined. It's closed. Is my page closed now? Now let's see what would it return, right? Now after this, right, you would see the browser getting closed, right? Now let's say I am interested to get the browser right up and running again, right? So what should I do? I should say I would have to get the access to the context, right? So to get the access to the context, what I can do is before closing it, right? Before closing it, get the access to the context first, right? And here I will get the access. I can, if I want, right, I can also put it as a fixture over here, right? But let's say I will not put it as a fixture. I will use the method which is provided by the page class. I will do something like this: page dot context. This will return me what? This will return me the context. Okay, it does not return me the promise, so this is not required. What I will do is I will collect it under browser context variable like this. Okay, and now since I have this, right, after I have closed the browser here, right, what I will do is I will say await browser context dot new page. Okay, and when I do this, right, you will see the browser getting displayed again, and it will show you the page, right? The it will show you the blank page. Let us grab this. Will return you the new page, right? A new page object. So what I will do is I will collect it. I will say p2 equals to this, and then I will say p2 dot go to, right? Let's hit the URL again. This time I will open, let's say youtube.com, right? At the rate pot test. So await. Okay, great, right? So okay, great, right? So we have all of this. Let's try to run the test case. Now this time I will not run it by running the command. No, since we have know about our we know about this extension, right? I will use this only. This is loading. Let it load. Hopefully it should get loaded up. Test folder and to type. And we have what we have tested. Let's, and we are running Chrome. Okay, great. We do not need to run the global setup on each run. Chrome browser, and what we have. Let's put it so that it can go slowly. Debug test. Okay, let's see what happens. Running one test using one worker, fine. If you see, right, it has already opened up the browser, right? So this is where it has been able to do till now, and it has stopped there, right? You can see the control is here. What I will do is I will go one by one, right? So I have the browser context. If you see, browser context is here, over here, and you can see all the methods available on the browser context, right? Let's move ahead. We see this piece of work, right? The variables, watch and call stack, breakpoint, audit scripts is the same thing, right? Which we have learned in the JavaScript chapters, right? So if you want to debug something, right, get a variable and all that, you can use this section, right, to do all your analysis of the debugging, right? Since we know about all this, so I'm not covering it again. I hope you understand, right? So let's move ahead. So we are saying page.go to. If you see, the browser is still blank. Let's do it one by one. So it will hit the okay. There is one timing which I have to adhere to. It has opened Facebook. Let's move very quickly. It will reload the page. You can see the browser will get reloaded. Okay. Now it will say it will now print the URL of it. You can see the URL is printed. Now it will print the title of the page. Title of the page is this one. You will now hit the pod test. Let's see. You will see it has hit the pod test URL. Now it will move ahead. Now if you see, right, it has moved backward. So backward is Facebook now. If you do it again, it will now move ahead. It will now again back on pod test. Now if you is closed, is it closed right now? No, it is still open, right? So it will say false, right? Now you are closing the you're closing the tab. Let's see what happens. If you close the tab, you can see the browser is also gone. Why? Because there was only one tab being opened up. Now if you print this, you will see getting it should now print true, right? That the page is closed, right? Now you are trying to create a new page, right? If you see the page, you see the blank browser is opened again, right? Now if you do this, you will see it is hitting the URL of podcast. This, sorry, the YouTube, right? And now we are good, right? And it is hitting this part here. Okay, and now this is completed, right? I hope this is clear, right? And you understand all this part. Now it is cleaning up the things. That's why it is stuck. It will clean up and then it will come out of this. If my control is here somewhere, no, it is still running. I hope, right, you understood all the flow here, right? How things are working. The important part is that if you have the access to the context, right, you will be able to open you will be able to reuse that session and create a new page for yourself. Okay, that's the most important part. When it comes to Selenium, right, there you do not get such a control. There what happens is that if you close the browser, right, I mean, if it get closed, there is no way for you to start things again, right? Okay, great.
Yes.
So this is what you have. Great. So this is what we know now. Let's move ahead with other functions, other methods here. Okay, the locators part, right? We have already discussed all the locators method yesterday, so I'm not covering them again. So we are done with locators. Navigation is done. What we have more is okay. One more thing. Okay, there is a method. Okay, there is a method on navigation itself, which is bring to front. Bring to front. Okay, there is a method called bring to front. What does this do? If you see this, right, currently I have two tabs, this one and this one, right. See, every tab will be represented by a different page object, right? So by default, the page which opens up right over here would be represented by page, because that is the fixture which has been used, and you perform methods using these methods, page dot go to, right? So you're using this object. If you wanted to open a new page, right, how you do it? You will have to get the access to the context as we did right now, and you will say new page. As soon as you say new page, right, now there's a new page object being formed. Let's say there is this section, right, where all the objects are kept. So what you have already is this. Let's say this is the browser here, right? You have one tab. So there is an object called page, which is already referring to this tab here, right? When you say context dot new page, what will happen here is it will create a new object for you, right, and it will open a new tab for you. Now this object, right, let you can term it as P2. When you say P2, right, P2 is now referring to this browser, this tab here. Just a second. Right, P2 is referring to this tab here, right? So what we can do is, right, so when you say this new page, right, what happens is this tab, right, you already have page dot go to, right? You, let's say you did this and you opened up the page, Facebook, right? Let's say Facebook was opened up. So here the, for this tab, Facebook is opened. As soon as say you say new page, right, what will happen is it will leave this page and the focus of your browser, right, will move to the next page which you have opened up, which is, let's say, this one, right? Or let's say if I do a new page, it will look something like this, a blank thing, right? Something like this. Now the focus is here, right? If you wanted to perform some action, right, you will have to do it using which object? The object which represents this tab, right? You have the access to it, right? Right, you have the access to it, and if you start doing things, right, using this object, still things will happen, right? Still things will happen on that page, but it will not be visually seen. Why? Because the focus of the browser is on this tab, right? Now this method, which is bring to front, right, will be handy for you if you wanted to make sure that that the page which you are working on, right, is the one which is shown on the browser, right? So what you can do is, let's say what you will do here is you will say page dot bring to front. As soon as you do this, right, let's say you were here, let's say you were here, as you did new page, you are here now, and if you do page dot bring to front, right, whatever page is referring to, right, in our case page would be referring to the first tab, it will go and make this focused again, right, so that you can see visually what is happening. Let us see this, right? Or in case of multiple pages, right, which gets over, let's say overlaid on each other, let's say because of a pop-up or something, right, this can be useful again, right? But for our context, I think what I explained would be a better thing right now. Let's create a new test case. I don't want to disturb the earlier one. Test case 15. Async page here. Let's say skip. We'll come here and we'll do page dot go to https what test.n. This is one thing. Await. Now what I'll do is I'll create a new page. Okay. To create a new page, I will say page dot context. Now context returns me what? A browser context, right? Which without a promise. Now what I'll do is I have the access to the browser context and I can say new page. Now this new page returns me a if you see this here, right? It returns me what? A promise. So this is okay. What I'll do is I'll collect it. Let p2 equals to this, and now I will do what? If you see, right, you will see a page, one tab which has access to this, a second tab which has access to this, right? Let me again create a new page. Let's say p3. So now you will have three tabs, right? And you will see the focus of the browser is on this page, right? If you do something on the page object still, right? Let's say page dot go to again, right? Let's say go to, and you will say https youtube now.com. What will happen here is, on which page you're doing this? You're doing on a page object, right? What is page object? The first tab, right? So it will just reload this URL on this tab, right? It is not doing anything on this. If you want to do something on this tab, you will have to do P2 and or P3, right? So what we are doing is we're just changing it, but you will not see the browser showing it up, okay, on the screen. Why? Because the focus is on this tab. So what I will do is, let's say I want to bring back the focus. So I will say page dot bring to front. Bring to front returns you what? A promise, which is a void. So let's start this and run it. Testing. Test case number 15. Let me just refresh this. Refresh test. Let's have a debugger here. We have tests, end-to-end specs. Yeah, Anand.
So, Akhil, is it also possible to, interact with elements also, even when the focus is not there on the
Yeah,
first page?
because you're doing it through page object, right? The page which is representing the tab.
Okay.
Let's run it. Uh, it is just bring to front is a method which helps you just to make sure that a page which you are really working, which you really want to work on, to bring it in the view mode, right? I mean, so that you can see it,
On the foreground.
right? Bring pages to front, right? Activate step. Earlier, your what tab was activated? What page was activated? This one. But the beautiful part here is that here, right? Since you have access to the individual pages, right? If you have the access to the object, you can do anything on any of the pages without making that available on the UI, right? So let's see. So it has started in the debug mode. It is much more slower. So let's wait. At least on my machine, it is slower. I don't know. Maybe on a Mac, it will be faster. Okay, it has loaded the test case. So the browser is opened up. It is the control is here. You see this. You will see it is hitting the port test. Now, if you do this, right, again, you will see a tab opened up. So the focus moved here. If you do another, this one, right, it will open a new tab, the third one. The focus is on this tab now. Now, if you do page.go to, you see, I'm doing it on the page. Which tab? This one, right? Let's see what happens here. You see, it has already navigated to YouTube, right? Without showing right over there. Now the control is back. Now you're saying page bring to front, right? If you do this, you see, it made this tab activated. That is what it does. It just activates the tab so that, and once you activate a tab, that is the one which is shown visually on the screen. Okay. Okay, great, right? This is another method, but you just to make this understand,
Um,
I yeah, please.
okay, does this method work on the last tab opened, or let's say we have multiple tabs open? In that case, how this method will work?
Yeah, yeah, this will work this only, right? It depends,
Uh,
right?
I mean, I mean,
Which
we are
object you're working
interact.
on.
Yeah, if we are interacting with two tabs and we have used this method, so the previous one from where the control moves to the new tab, it
Hmm.
is displaying that. Let's say I'm working with the three tabs or four tabs, and
Uh,
I'm on the fourth tab. I'm giving the bring to front. So will it go to the first tab or the last tab from where it moved?
okay, tell me which object name did you use here to hit this method? Which object name we are using? Page, right?
Page, yeah.
So you are specifically saying use the page, right? What is page
Okay.
here? Page is the object referring to the first step. So it will do the things on that page only, right? If you wanted to bring this P2 into the activated list, right? What you will do is you will set P2 dot bring to front.
Okay, I got it.
Okay. Okay. Let's step over and let's stop this execution. Okay, great. So we are done with this also. We are done with close and all. We understand this part. Okay, what do we have is okay. One method which we already know is the pause method, right? So there is one more method called pause, and it helps you to get into the debugging mode, uh, right? Even from the normal execution, right? So let's say, right, you are debugging a code, and let's say you do not have the extension and all, right? What you can do is you can say await page dot pause. What this will do is this will make your code, right. See, till now to make this run in debugging mode, I was using the extension, right? I was using the extension. I was putting a breakpoint and then running the stuff, right? Now, let's say I do not know about all this, right? And I do not want it to stop here. The convenient way which they have provided, right? The Playwright provided. What they're saying is, let's say you wanted to make a pause somewhere. Let's say not here. Let's say here, right? After this, let's say you want to pause here, right? So what will happen here is, if you just have to put this line over here, what it will do is, now, although it is running in a run mode, not on the debug mode, right? If I run it now like this, right, using in the run mode, it will run the test case, it will run all the things very fastly, but as soon as it sees this, it will just come here and pause it. It is similar to like you are putting a breakpoint, okay? And if you, and once it is here, right, it will open it will open the browser, right? I mean, it will show you the debug mode. And in this case, it will show you that Playwright inspector, right, where you have the debugging features available. Let's see. Let me show you. So I'm running the test case, right? I'm not debugging this. Let's run it. So you will see these 4 steps getting completed quickly, and after that it will stop here. Let's see. Not stop. It will pause there, right? It will hold the execution. And then it's like you are in a debug mode, and if you want to go step by step or move somewhere, right, or do some analysis, you can do all of that. See, it opened the tab, it opened 2 tabs, and now it would go and pause there, right? It has opened, it is now hitting the YouTube URL, and now when it says page.pause, it should open that Playwright inspector. Let's see. It is waiting, right? Let's let it complete. Once it complete, it is taking time to open that Playwright inspector. You see, the Playwright inspector opened up. This is the same inspector which was being opened up when you were doing what? Code gen, right? Code generator. But this time you see these 2 things, right, is now activated now. In the case of code generator, it was not activated. Remember? I showed it yesterday. Right? So in a way, right, you are getting a debug mode, right, on the fly, right? You are not seeing the debugging thing here now on your code, right? No, you're seeing it here as a special utility, right? Just for you to do anything. If you wanted to, let's say, resume, right, you can just resume, and now it will not stop. It will not stop anywhere until unless it sees a pause again. Or if you want to step over, right, step by step, you can just use this step over. If you do this, it moved ahead, right, and that was the last thing to have, so it just completed the things. But I hope, right, you're getting the point what it is doing. It was able to open the Playwright inspector. It was showing you all the code which your current script has, right, and you have all the options over there, right? Okay. Yeah, Hassan, please.
Hi, Akhil. So the page goes to YouTube, right? And it should render YouTube. But
right.
what does it bring to front does to that YouTube?
You had 3 tabs, right? 1 tab, 2nd tab, 3rd tab, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I was at this line, tell me which tab were you seeing on the screen?
It was a blank page. It's a new tab.
Blank page, right? So that was the tab which was in the activated mode, right?
Focus.
Right. So the page, this tab was the one which was in the activated mode, right? So that's the reason you were seeing this tab. Now let's say you wanted to see some specific tab being shown on the screen, right? So what you have to do is you will have to get the access to that object of that page and say that object dot bring to front, and now you will start seeing that tab visually also, and that would be the activated tab, and that is what it does. Getting it?
After the new tab, right? The 2nd tab, it goes to YouTube, right? And then it brings to front. I'm not getting that actually. So
okay, let's see this again. See again, right? Okay, let's do that. See, the easiest explanation of bring to front is, or you should not, I mean, I'm not trying to complicate this is very simple thing. What we are trying to say is, like, if you have multiple tabs opened up, right, and you wanted to activate a specific tab, what you should do is you should have the access to that page object which represents that tab, and just do bring to front, and as soon as you do it, right, it activates that tab and you see it visually also on the screen.
So
That is what
bring
it
to
does.
front. Bring to front activated the YouTube, right? That tab.
Yes.
I see,
It does.
I see.
It does, right?
Okay.
Right.
I see. Otherwise the focus would be somewhere else. Otherwise the focus would be in the
Focus
blank
would be
page.
here, right? Focus would be on this P3 tab. the latest tab which was opened up,
I see, because you're
right?
using context. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I hope you got it.
Yeah.
Okay, if you got this, let me stop this. Okay, fine. So move ahead, right? What else? So we now know about pause, context, and all this. Great. Okay. Hmm. See, there are a lot of methods here, right? There are a lot of methods here which are drag and drop, right? Evaluate. Okay, evaluate, right? Evaluate. I would suggest, right? What does evaluate do, right? Evaluate is a method on the page using which, right, you can run the Java, you can run some code, right, and get some data out of it, right? Maybe I will cover it right when I will show you like how to run the JavaScript code in the browser. Okay, like let's say you want to click on something, right, on the on a web page using the plain JavaScript code. If you want to do it, right, how to do that part, I will think in that discussion we'll take it up, right? Similarly, there is a drag and drop, right? So this is like a you are picking an element and dropping it somewhere, right? So for doing that, I will cover it when we start discussing about mouse events. Similarly, there is something called keyboard, right? So let me show where it is. Do we have it here or no? I think there was one. Where is it? No, okay, it does not show it here. Drag and drop. Okay, it does not show it here, but yeah, we have to discuss about that part also, right? Okay, what else we should discuss? Frames. Again, frames discussion we'll do it once we start discussing about frames. Okay. So there are a lot of methods available on that frame locator, frames, and there is one more main frame, right? So there are 4 frame methods. We'll discuss. We have discussed about all these locators. Go back, go forward, go to is closed, locator, opener, right? Opener I will discuss when we discuss about pop-ups and all. Okay. What else to understand? Reload we have done. Listeners. Okay, listeners, right? Listeners. This is again something which we have already seen. Okay, viewport size. Let's just cover this one. Viewport size. Viewport size is what? You currently see this current web page, right? Taking up all the space of the browser, right? Right. So let me show it this way. I think we have discussed this in WebDriver I also. Let me just, or I think I have discussed it earlier also, but let's do it here. If you see this, right? Here, if you see, right, I have changed, if when I do this, right, this is my viewport, right? The size of it, 400 into 1267, right? This is what the size, this is what my viewport. The viewport is that space on the web page where you see your content, right? By default, we were seeing in the, it was taking all the space, right? If I expand this, you see, it is increasing, right? It is increasing. So if I take the entire space, it is like 1587, right? It is the width part. And if I want, right, to, can I reduce the height? If you see, the height can be reduced like this, right? Let's say this is the screen size which I'm interested to work on, right? So what you can do is you can go and set the size like this, width and height on the page, right? And you will see the page accordingly. How to do it? You can just, okay, so here, right, what I'm saying is there's a method, another method, which is uh, viewport size. Viewport size returns you the current size which is set for that page. Okay, so it will return you an object, it will return you an object which will show a width and a height, right? So let's see. But if you want to set the size of the viewport, you can do it through a method called viewport size. And here it will take the input of an object which will have to have 2 properties within it. One is the width. You can define, let's say, 500 pixels, and you can define the height of it, 400 pixels, right? Let's say. So, and if you would see again, run the viewport size, this time it will return height and width which we have set here, and it changes only that particular page. Okay, only that particular page, not all the pages, because we are working on the page object. Let's see this. Test case 15. We are here, right? Let's do. Let's hit some URL in P2 tab also, right? So we'll say p2 dot go to. We'll hit Facebook here. Okay, https facebook.com. Await. Right now we'll there's a page getting loaded on the tab 1. On tab 2 also we have a page. And now what I'm doing to do is I will say await page dot viewport size. So this returns you object, not the promise. So we do not need await, but I would like to print this. So we'll say console.log this thing, size of p1 is this thing, right? Now we have done this. Now what I will do next is I will set the page size here, right? I will say page set viewport size. Here it needs an input of an object which will have a width of, let's say, 500 pixel, let's say, right? And will have height here. Height it is 400. And this needs to, it will return a promise, I believe. Yeah. So let's say await. Now if you check the size again of the same page, you will see this size being set 500 400. But this only impacts the size of this page, right? Not the other pages. So if I try to see the size of p2, it will still be the same part, right? What it already had, whatever space would have taken. Let's run this and see what is happening. I do not need to use pause here. Let's remove it. And we'll see visually also, right? So let me do one thing. I will just simply say await page dot pause here. Okay. Now let's run the test case. To run the test case, using this extension, right, you get a button here also, right? So you can just say click to run test case. I would like to just run my test case. That's it. Okay, so wet viewport size is done. Now the only thing which we have to cover is the events. Okay, we have not covered the load state, right? Okay, I'll first cover that part. The load state is important. Let this complete. We'll now move to the load state and then we'll talk about the events in the page side. So this is the first tab. It opened the second tab, which has the Facebook being logged in. Third tab, blank tab. It will on the page on the tab 1, which is this one, right? It has reloaded to YouTube. You can see the YouTube is getting reloaded. You see, right? It has changed this. Okay, it is changing this part. No, it should not have done this. Okay, if you see this here, right? If you see this, the YouTube, the viewport has been changed, right? The viewport has been changed, and you do not see a scroll here or here, right? So it means this Playwright, right, has set the size of the page like this, right? So it has brought it down like this. But if you look at the Facebook, right, you do not see it happening. You see, this is not what we have, right? Although it is not showing those scroll bars, but you can see the page has not been fit into that size of viewport, right? Because we did not attempt that operation over there. If you see here, right, for page 1, earlier the width was this and the height was this. When you change this height and the width of it, it became this. But changing a height and a width on a specific page does not have any impact on the other page. The other page still has this 1280720, right? Like this. Okay, it shows you like this only. But the problem here is that since these are part of the same browser, you are seeing things like this. If I expand this, let's say, if I expand this, you will see, right, Facebook being shown like this. And if you look at YouTube, you see this is the YouTube. This is the viewport of it. This is getting disoriented because we are doing a lot of things on a single browser, but this is how it is. Okay, I hope you're getting the point. What my intention of telling you here is that in over here, right, you get the access, right, to change the viewport at a page level. okay, at a page level. In I think in Selenium again, right? What you could do at best is you could change the viewport at a browser level, not at a tab level. Okay, so you have more control here. Okay, right? And I hope you got this point. Let's move ahead. It is waiting for here. Let's run it, right? And one more thing, right? This is good to have. Okay, if you really wanted to debug things, right? I would suggest do not depend on this pose part. Okay, do not depend. Rather use the debugging part of this VS Code. Okay, do not go here, right? Because here, right, you will not get all the debugging capabilities. What you can do is you would be able to pause it for a fraction of seconds and maybe move ahead by using this resume and the step over. But it will be doing only that part, right? Nothing more. You cannot see the elements. You cannot do any analysis on it. This is just good if you wanted to just check the flow, right, by running the lines one by one. Could be good there, but in some of the cases, right, it also does not work in that way because it gets automatically collapsed, right, without giving you any reasoning of it. Okay, so the best way to analyze your code or to debug it is through this extension only, not this. It could be used for your I think in let's say in if you want a quick access to run things, that is where you can use it. Okay, let's run it up and it will get closed. It will close the browser and it will come out. Great. Let's talk about events. Okay, let's talk about events on the page side. Okay, before event we have to discuss about the load state. Okay, tell me one thing, right? When you hit a URL, right, let's say this is my browser. Come on, man, this is my browser, right? This is my browser, and I have a tab and I'm hitting a URL here, right? I'm hitting a URL here, right? It is hitting the URL. When I do this, what happens in the background? If anyone can throw some light on it. Let's say I'm hitting facebook.com. What will happen after that?
So it will like try to post a request, try to
So
hit that endpoint.
endpoint means it will try to reach out to the server, right? Wherever that is hosted.
Yes.
Let's say
Yes.
this is the server here, right? And what happens after this? Once the request is received, let's say it's a legitimate request, it is received. What will server do?
Server will respond back with the requested page. If it
Okay.
is
When you say requested page, what exactly it will be sending back to the client, which is in my case the browser? What
uh,
it will send back?
Data packets.
Data packets, which is correct. But what those data packets will contain? It will contain
Browser
what does
receive
what does
HTML,
yes,
and
yes, yes, HTML.
and then it creates the DOM based on
the
that HTML.
Mhm.
And again, it fetches additional resources like CSS and JavaScript and
Absolutely
images.
correct. Additional resources like what?
CSS.
CSS
It says
and
JavaScript,
JavaScript, maybe some images
images, all the
which it
resources.
will have to upload. Let's say some videos, some audios, right? Whatever it has to do, it will send all of that packet, right? All of these things along with the response the server will be sending, right? Depending on what that website has.
Yeah.
Correct. Right. Now let's put this thing right into additional resources like this, right? And this is the HTML part, right? Now, what does browser do with all this? First of all, tell me what let's say all of these are getting received by the browser. What will browser do first thing? It will try to load the HTML, right?
Document first.
It
The
will
whole
try to load the document, which is the HTML, right? And
Yeah.
it does it by converting this HTML document into a DOM, right?
DOM.
HTML DOM.
Yeah.
That is what it does, right? And once this is ready, right, it starts rendering the page, right? It starts rendering the page on the browser, right? It starts rendering, and as part of that rendering, right, once it is rendering the page, it will see, okay, here I have to put a button, here I have to put some styling, here I have to put an image, right? And it will keep on doing it sequentially, right? Like that, in that way, right? That is how things are rendered in the browser. But what is the first thing which will definitely be put into the browser is to make sure HTML DOM, correct?
Yes.
So let's break this part, right, where the browser is rendering into multiple stages. So what will happen first of all? So this is done. Let's say it hits the URL. Now you have received the response. Now browser is rendering. Your page has not loaded completely. It is rendering, right? So the phase one. What would be the phase one? It will load the DOM, right? Correct.
Yes.
This is the first stage which it will do. But loading the DOM does not mean your entire page is loaded, because there could be some additional resources which are waiting to be loaded on the screen to be visible. Okay. What apart from it, what happens, right? Let's say this is done now. So this is phase one. What is phase two? Now phase two, you can understand that it has loaded all these things, right? Additional resources also on the page. Okay. All these additional resources are loaded on the page, right? So now if you see right now, right, if you see this, if you are here, right, let's say you started here, right, you started at T1, this is time T2, and this is time T3, right? So at time T1, right, page was just started receiving, right, and browser still loading, right? It's still loading. So this is still happening. So you will not say the browser is loaded yet, right? At time T2 also, right, once this is done also, right, you have some resources to be seen. So browser is still rendering, right? That spin thing still happening. When does it stop? It stops here, right? Once everything is put on the browser, whatever was supposed to be done as part of that all the code, right? And here, right, you can say your browser, your page is loaded, correct? If we keep it simple like this, right, in under two phases only. Now what happens here, right? How does your script, let's say Playwright, Selenium, and all that comes to know that okay, the things have been loaded, right? Have been loaded. What they do is, okay, one more thing, right? One more thing. See, this is good to have, right, when you have a static website. Okay, a static website. Again, there are a lot of concepts. There's a static website, there's a dynamic website, right, which keeps changing depending on, let's say it is rendering the DOM, and while rendering the DOM, it found okay, there is some JavaScript code which I need to run, right, as part of the loading because of the logic which is written there, right? Sometimes what happens is there's a static website, right, and there is no need of the subsequent request to be sent to the server, right, to receive some more information, right? And in some cases it is a dynamic website. If I tell you in my case, right, this website of mine, right, podcast is a static website. Okay, it's a static website. I am not asking people, right, to, let's say, I'm not giving them the utility to log in, right, to send some data to the server. No, they cannot do it. It's a static website. So there is a HTML page which has been rendered, right, and it is showing all of this, right? But if you look at the YouTube, right, it's more like it is more like, if we say youtube.com, it's a dynamic website. The content of the page would change, right, depending on when you are seeing this, right? It can just load things accordingly, correct? This is a dynamic website. And here, right, you need the server. Your website will have to go back to the server to receive more information depending on the user actions, right? So these websites are called dynamic websites, and to handle dynamic websites, there are a lot of approaches to be used by the UI developers, right? That's why frameworks like React, Angular, and all, right, came into the picture to give you seamless operations in a dynamic website. One of the concept is single page application, right? Right. But this is okay. This is too much to explain. But yeah, but I hope you're getting the point, right? What I really wanted to tell here is that what happens, right? What happens here is that how does Playwright comes to know that the page has loaded, right? Does it wait for the spinning button to stop? No, it does not do that, right? It does not do that. It relies on something else. Okay, what does it rely on? If you open any page, let's say this page, right? Let us go back here. Right, let us go back here. Okay, this Playwright, I have messed it up. Let me open it again. Okay, now it is back. Right. So if I open this inspect here, right, what happens? So tell me, if I want access to this web page, what is the object I should access here? What is the name of that object? If I want to access anything on this page, what does? Sorry, what did you say?
Document.
Document, right? The document is the object name which represents that entire DOM, right? The HTML DOM, correct? Now on this document object, there's a property called ready state. Okay, ready state. Let us see what does it show currently. It shows complete, right? It tells you the state of the document, whether it is complete or not, right? In our case, if you see this shows you complete here, right? Now, this document or ready state, right? Okay, I have one confusion. Let me just clarify that part. This document or ready state, okay, ready state. Document or ready state also takes care of loading additional resources, or just the HTML. Hopefully indicate the current state of the document running process. Loading the document, still loading its HTML. Has fully loaded. Interactive, the browser has finished parsing the HTML and document DOM is fully constructed, but sub resources like images, scripts, and style sheets might still be loading. The document is fully loaded, including all sub resources. Okay, great. So if you see here, right, there are three properties. Values, right, which are possible for that ready state. One is loading, second is interactive, and third is the complete. Okay. Now, what you need to understand, right? What I'm trying to tell you, apart from all, I mean, as part of this discussion, is Playwright, right, depends on that value, right, of document.ready state. Document.ready state. Okay, document.ready state. It keeps checking this, right? It can have three values, right? One is loading. When it says it is loading, right, it means you are here, somewhere here. It is still loading the DOM, right? Which means your HTML file only, right? HTML file. Your HTML file is still getting loaded, right? It is getting loaded. Now, once the file is loaded, right? Once that HTML file has been loaded, the DOM is there in place, right? You reach a state of interactive, right? Interactive, right? But if you see, the browser is still rendering, right? It is still rendering. Why? Because there are additional resources which needs to be applied on the page. And after the interactive state, that transition starts happening. And once you complete it, you see complete being mentioned. In our case of the Playwright here, right, you see complete because everything is loaded what has to be loaded as part of the DOM, right? Okay. Now, what happens because of this, right? So whenever you hit a URL, right, like this, let's say pod test you're hitting, right? Let's say if you do this, it is hitting, right? It is scrolling. It keeps scrolling, right? Now, during the scrolling, it is waiting for those three things to complete, right? Now, what Playwright says, right? What Playwright says that, right? See, eventually, what do you think is the best phase to be in if you have to say that, okay, I am done with all the loading? Tell me, which is the phase you should try to target? This one, right?
Yes.
The last one, right? The last one, right? And this is what Playwright by default works for, right? It waits for this thing, right? This part here is complete, right? Now, what Playwright does is there is a loading strategy which it has in place, right? Loading strategy. There are four loading strategies which Playwright has. One is load, right? Which means this part, the third stage. It means that the HTML is also loaded and everything else, right, which has to come on the page has been loaded, right? So by default, Playwright waits for this load thing, right, to complete. Okay, like this. But in some cases, right, let's say you think that, okay, no, loading a image, right, takes a lot of time. Let's say your application is very slow and all, right, and you think that if the HTML itself is loaded, right, that is also sufficient for me. If that is the intent, right, then there is a second stage which you could change. This is the default thing. But if you want to change it, there is something called DOM content loaded. So when you say DOM content loaded, what does it mean? It means you are somewhere here, right? That your DOM is loaded, but your additional resources might be in transition to get loaded. But you can use this strategy, right, to tell Playwright that, okay, if this stage is attained, then also I'm fine, and please proceed ahead with all the next things, right, for that particular page loading part. Okay, so these are two different stages. There's a third stage. If you see, right, these should have been right, I mean, should have been the default, I mean, should have been the only options available to us, but there are two more, right? Sometimes what happens is that when this interaction is happening between the browser and the server, right, let's say there is some delay in the network and all, right? And as part of it, right, server send you some let's say some part of the resources and not everything, right? So what happens here is it is still sending the network, it is still sending the resources, right? And what happens is it comes in chunks, and because of the delay in the network, right, it might not come in one go, it might come in, let's say, 5 seconds, right? Another chunks keep on coming, right? So what they're saying is there is a third uh, strategy also, right, which is says network idle, right? What does it do here, right? It says that, okay, if you use this strategy, right, what it will do is it will wait, it will see that for in last 500 milliseconds, which is half a second, it should not have more than 2 network requests being sent to the server, right? If it is not the case, right, it will consider that the page is loaded. Okay, again, nothing, it is not something which I would and recommend anyone to use. Okay, so ignore it, right? At least for the web part, ignore it, right? Not sure about the API part, but this is for web, this is not required. For web, this is the best thing to have. Okay, and there is a last one which is called commit. Commit says that what you have done is that it says that it's a combination of network idle plus this entire thing, this DOM content loaded. Sorry, this load thing, right? Let me see. See, everything again is in the documentation only. I'm not making up things. Okay. What is that load strategy, right? Where it is load state. If you see here, it does not show it here. Go to, you see commit, right? Consider operation to be finished when network response is received and the document started loading. Started loading, right? So here, right, it's the fourth thing. It's the fourth thing. It says document started loading. Document started loading means you are somewhere here. What it's saying is that you have received whatever you have to receive from the server, and right, and the browser has started loading the things. So you are somewhere here only, right, in this phase. And let's say this is what you aspire to be in, you should use commit part, right? It means that browser has received everything which it has to get, and it is in the process of the loading of that, right? So if you think that is the best strategy to use, you should use commit here, right? You should change the strategy to commit, right? But and the second thing, if you think, right, if you just think that, okay, the server has already sent everything which it has to send, right, and there are no network calls being made between the client and server, and if that has happened, you think that, okay, this is the right point where I would say where I would assume the page is loaded. In that case, you should check this one, right? The third thing, right, which is DOM content loaded, which means that you are somewhere here, that you receive that the network is also idle, the loading has also started, and now the loading has also completed for the HTML, right? Now, if you wanted to wait till here, you should say DOM content loaded, right? But if you wanted to wait till the end of it, which is here, right, then you should say load. Okay, and that is the default strategy which Playwright works on. But it gave you, right, these 4 options to use if you want them to be used in some of your cases. Okay, which is very highly unlikely. So load is the best strategy to use, and that is what Playwright supports by default. Okay, are we good with this?
Yeah, quite
Yes.
extensively clear.
Right, great. So
And
now,
is
yeah,
this is also one of the root principle of play script introducing promises, because it needs to wait for
see, hmm.
things to come back.
Okay, tell me, if you use Java, right, is there any promising there? No, right?
No,
No, right? It
no.
depends on the language which you're using, right? You're using on a Node.js, you're using a Node.js, right? There things are different, right? Because Node.js is, see, the only difference, right, between things over here between Java and JavaScript here is because of one reason. Why? What is that one reason? The reason is that JavaScript, right, support is a synchronous language, right? It can do only one thing at a time, right? And because of that restriction, right, all these asynchronous things, right, to be supported and all, you have to design it. You that callback came, the callback hell came, the promises handling came, right? And because it is more like I would say this is more like a constraint, right, which you had on you if you decided to use JavaScript. And now to support it, right, anyone who wants to use JavaScript, they will have to comply with that, with all those rules, right? And as part of that compliance of the rule, you come up with the promise handling, and that is where things are done accordingly, right? If you talk about Java, right, over there, you do not do any. There is no see Java there, right? What happens here is there is no distinction between the asynchronous and synchronous, right? If you, at least for the testing part, right, here also, right, what you intend to do is you wanted to run things sequentially only. In case of Java, what happens? There by default, all the commands, all the methods which you fire, right, they wait for that to finish and then only they move ahead, right? Because that is the default nature of Java, right? There is no need of using async and await. But since in case of JavaScript, that is not how it works, right? For synchronous, it will wait, but for asynchronous, it will not wait. And just to wait for the asynchronous, you have to do async await. I hope you're getting the point, right? That is the basic difference, right? And it is not like Playwright is designed in that way. No, Playwright was designed as a tool, right, to function. It is a language which is creating that constraint on you. Getting it?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So let's move ahead, right? Let's cover things very quickly. If you go back to go to, right, if we were checking the go to method, right, here, let us park this test case also. Let me skip it. Let's collapse this, save this, and go to a test case 16, async. Here, right, what happens here is we'll say await page dot go to, right, and you are hitting the URL. Okay, let's look at the method. If you look at the method now, right, URL was what we were providing, right? You have a referrer, you have a timeout, you have a wait until. I think by default timeout is, I think, 30 seconds. Okay, we have not talked about any timeout in Playwright till now. We will start it after covering the locators part. So I will cover this timeout thing later, right? Let's just focus on this part. Wait until, right? Wait until. So what we'll do is, first of all, let me hit the URL, https podcast.in, right? If you leave it like this, right, what happens here is it is by default working on that load thing, right, on that load strategy. But let's say that is not what you are interested in. You are interested in using wait. Okay, how do we provide this? It's like an object. Yeah, it's like an string options. Within the options, there's a one option referrer, second is timeout, third is wait until. So what you have to do is you have to provide an object, and you will say wait until. And here, right, you can provide document loaded, network idle, or commit. Let's say I am interested in the commit part, or let's say network idle, right? Network. Okay, I have to put it in a double quote like a string. Network idle, right? Like this. Now what will happen here is it will only wait for this to for the network idle to achieve that state, right? Let's try to do something here. Uh, let's not hit pot test. Let's hit that URL because there we will have some elements to work on. See, let's say I want to hit this URL. Okay, and now I would like to also work. Let's say I want to click on email, right? Await page dot locator, and we will put. I would like to fill it somewhere, something here. So I'll say inspect. Email. Where is the email? Here, right? Name email. So let's use the CSS. Name equals to email. This is the CSS part. Let's grab it. Come back here, put it here, and we'll say dot fill, and we'll say after JDA gmail.com. Okay, let us try to see in all the different four strategies how it behaves, right? Again, it could work, it could not work, right? But it's just that you have to understand that if you change the strategy, it is the logic to wait has been changed, right? But you cannot guarantee whether it will work or not, right? You will have to observe, and accordingly you will have to set page dot pause. Let's run this thing. Okay, it has started running. Okay, I have to cover events, man. Come on. Yeah, please, Anand.
Akhil, until when you are planning to take the session?
I wanted to cover events, so it might be going till 10:15, I believe.
Okay.
Okay, so come on, man. Running one test using one worker. If you see, it should start the browser instance. It did, and okay, you see, right? In my case, it is working. The network idle is also working, right? Network idle thing is working, right? So it has waited for this network idle state to be attained. And in this case, right, it was too fast, and that's why I believe it was able to do all this, right? If you would change it to something else, let's say commit and all, so it will use that strategy for this page to be loaded. Okay, and that's what I wanted to mention, right? If you think that load is not something which okay, why would you try to change that part? Think of it. Maybe only in those cases where your application takes a lot of time just to load the things, right? And you would not want it to complete to attain the ready state as complete. Rather, you feel like if the HTML DOM is loaded, then also it is sufficient for me, or maybe all some of these states, right? In all those cases, you would like to change. Otherwise, I would never change it. I would leave it as load only, right? Okay, let's close this. Fine. Okay, let's go back. I just wanted to show you one thing on this. If you see this, right, the default maximum not wait until, okay, defaults to load, right? Wait until default value is load. Okay, but you could change it to whatever you want. Timeout, maximum operation time in millisecond, default to 0, no timeout. The default value can be changed by navigation timeout option in the config. We don't know about all this timeout, so we'll discuss afterwards. Okay, moving ahead. Let's go to events now, right? Events. If you see, right, we have talked about events at the context level, at the browser level. Let me open them again. Browser and the context level. Which are these? Let me close all these extra browsers. Yeah, right. If you look at the browser, right, there was only one event which you are waiting, which was disconnected, right? It was disconnected, and this is the event which gets fired if you close the entire browser, right? Which means you close all the sections, you close all the tabs, right? And right, so this is the event, right, which you can have, okay, on this part. And what happens here is you can, if this is disconnected, right, and when this event get fired, either you have called this method, or somehow let's say there is a crash in the application, right, and this event would be fired in that case also, right? So we have talked about it. In case of browser context, right, there were more events. What were those events? Events look like this, right? Background page, we don't know about background page, ignore it. We know about close, console, dialog, page, and that's it. These are the four which we covered, right? So these are different four events, right? And whenever that event occurs, right, you can mention the code which will get fired every time that event occurs, right? So you should use these own thing, right? If you wanted to run the piece of code again and again as soon as the event gets repeated, right? But let's say there is a case where you don't want to, where you want to run the code, right, once the event occurs, only once, right? Only once. For that, you have to use wait for event, right? If you remember, right, we use wait for event in those cases. Similarly, if you go to the page level, right, there are a lot of events which you can fire, which can be fired and you can monitor, right? So close, console, crash, dialog, DOM content loaded, right? DOM content loaded, download, and all of this, right? There are a lot of events, and you have a on method for all of them, right? So what will on method will do is, let's say you said on.console, right? You designed it and you placed a code inside this, right, to run every time this event occurs, right? So it will get executed every time the event occurs, right? And if you want to change it, right, if you want that code to run only once, then here also you have a method called wait for event, which is this one, right? But here this time, right, you have more wait methods. One is wait for event, wait for function, wait for load state, wait for URL. Okay, wait for request and response are for API testing, so we are not covering it, so let's not discuss it. These wait for function also you can ignore as of now. We'll talk about it later. Wait for event, wait for load state, wait for URL. Let us open the new tab first of all. We are going to talk about events only, right? And this would be a much, I would say, easier discussion because we have spent enough time on events earlier also, right? I don't have to explain things from basics. I hope you understand. You will remember it from our previous discussion of browser and browser context. But let me just list down what are all the events which we are interested in listening. Okay, here, this part, right? Let's first write the events. What are the events which we are interested in? Okay, let me make this page over here on the right hand side so that I can see it here, right? So the events, okay, yeah, what happened here? Right, the events which I am interested at the page level, right? One is the close event, right? So this is the list of events which I can have. One is the close event. Second is the console event. Third is the crash event. Let's say something went wrong in the application on the page side and the page has crashed. This will happen. Dialog. If some dialog box has opened up from the browser level, so this is the event. There is another event called DOM content loaded, which will as we discussed just recently, right? This is the event which gets fired once your HTML DOM is loaded, right? Right, and not and it does it guarantees that the HTML DOM is loaded, but it does not guarantee that the additional resources is also loaded. Okay, there are a lot of things if you are downloading a file, whether that download has completed or not. So there's a download thing, right? But all of that I will cover later. We will talk about load. So similar to DOM content loaded, there is another event which could be a load, right? Which means the entire page is loaded completely. There is something called pop-up. Pop-up and dialog box we will discuss separately, but yeah, this is here, right? And what else? I think that's it, right? These are the ones, right? Close, console, crash, DOM content, and load, right? So these are the events which we are interested in listening. Dialog and pop-up, download. There is other one, right? File chooser. All of these, right, we'll discuss in the subsequent sections, right? Once we start discussing about them. But since we know about these two, we know about these two, or this crash part. This crash thing I cannot generate. So let's just use these two only. These two and these two, right? So these are the events which we are interested as of now. Okay. What are the options to apply these events or to listen to it? See, we have three-step process, right? We discussed, which we have been knowing from our previous discussion. One, there are it's a three-step process. Three-step process. One is you create a listener, right? You create a listener. Create a listener which will listen to the event, right? Second step, once you have created it, the second step is that the event should be fired. The event should occur. Let's say the page has crashed. Let's say the page has been closed, right? So it's one of the event, right? Create a listener on a specific event. On a specific event, right? So if you want to listen on close, so you would be saying close is my event. Now you would wait for that event to occur, right? Event occurs, right? Now, once the event occurs, what you need to do is there is some action which you would like to take once that event has occurred. Take action. So it's a three-step process, right? Now, to apply these approach, right, you have two different ways to do it, right? One is using the on method, and second is for wait for event. Okay. Now, as I told last time, right, What is the difference in the two? If you use this on, right, it means that every time the event occurs, right, whatever you have specified here, right? So what is the way to write it? You will say, you will specify the event name. You will write something like this: page dot on close. This is the event which you are listening to, the step one, right? And the third step, take action, right? You will specify here only. You will specify what action you have to take. You will specify under these boundaries. Okay. Okay. So the third, so step one, this is step one, this is step three, being specified in a single group. And now you will wait. So it is like you have activated the listener to start listening to the event. And now you will wait for the event to happen. And let's say I will make the event happen by saying page dot close. As soon as they do this, right, the event got fired, the page got closed, and this, it will be notified, and this will run, right? And similarly, and let's say, right, so this would be executed. Now next time I do the same stuff, right, the same code will run. If I keep on repeating this event, right, this keep event kept happening, this code will keep on repeating itself. I do not need to copy this code and place it 100 times. No, I just need to write it once, right, and it works. In case of wait for event, right, again the same stuff happens. You specify which event you're waiting for to happen. Let's say I'm saying for console, right, console. Now what will happen is it will wait for the this event to occur in this approach, right? So you are saying step one, right? Now you will do what? In this approach, right, you will not define the action here. You will not define the action here. You will do what? You will, now you will make the event occur, right, by let's say printing some data in the console. And in the third step, what will happen is you will now, you in this case, right, you would use it where you are aware that certain action of mine will trigger some event, right? So here you are aware, here you are not aware, right? In those cases you should use on, right? You want to leave it, you do not want the control of controlling the execution of the action. But here, yes, you need that control, right? You want to run it once, and you know when that event will occur, right? So that's why you would define the action in the next line like this. Okay, this is what the difference was. Let's look at it very quickly. So this is wait for event, right? But similar to this, right, there are other events which are mentioned, which are here available, right? There are other methods of wait. Come on, let me just write it down. One is wait for request. Sorry, not wait for request. Wait for URL and wait for load state. Wait for load state. Load state, and the third one was, sorry, third one was wait for load state and wait for URL, right? Wait for URL. So let's very quickly start looking at this one by one. Here, right, I will come here. We have seen this. Let me pass this away. Let's say skip. Let me copy this test case. Come to the next line, test case 17. Right, remove this part here. Let's say I wanted to listen to the event, which is this. See, I'm sure you know about console and close already. So I'll discuss about these two events, right? So what I'll do is I'll take the on approach, right? So to apply the on approach, what you have to do is you have to say page.on, right? And here you have to specify the event which you're interested to listen. So I'm interested in listening to this DOM content loaded. Okay, DOM content loaded, and here you will define here you can define your code to run. Again, you can here, right, on the fly it will inject the page object, okay, for document content loaded. And here, right, once this is loaded, what I can do is I can put async here. First of all, async await page dot, once it is loaded, right, let me just get the content of the page. Content of the page returns me what? It returns me gets the full HTML content of the page, including the doc type. Let's grab it. Let content let content equals to this. Okay, and I will print it out. Console.log content loaded as content. Right now, if you see, right, I am writing this code once, right? So I am creating a listener. This is my listener, And I have taken the third step also, which is to define the action to be taken if this event occurs, right? Now, when the event will occur, it will happen here only, right? Once you are hitting the URL, the event will happen certainly, which was the DOM content would be loaded. Now, once this has happened, right, you will see this getting printed, the action to be taken, right? Now, if I do another event, right, if I run another event here, let's say this time I would be hitting YouTube. HTTPS youtube.com, right? You're doing this. So what will happen here? This time again the event is occurring, right? So this is already listening. DOM content loaded. It will go and run this piece of code again, right? And page.on, it does not return you anything. It is the, so you don't have to use promises, right? Right. So this is how things will run, right? Let's run it to see, right, whether it is working or not. So the important point to focus here is that this piece of code will run twice. This piece of code. Why? Because you are loading, because event is happening twice, one for this page and then for this page. Let's run this.
Akhil, what we are expecting in the content variable again?
Content will load you the entire HTML file, right, which you got in that page.
It will like paste the whole HTML
Right,
code
right, right.
in the logs.
That's the full HTML content of the page, including doc type.
Okay.
Right. We did not cover this specifically, but yeah, I think this is this you can understand, right? Maybe from this example it will get clear.
Yeah.
Oh, I said skip here. Sorry. Now trigger it again. Run test. Okay, so it is hitting the URL. So this has hit the URL. It is now hitting YouTube. Oh, why it is not printing this? We have a problem. Okay, in the debug mode, no. Why it has a problem in this part always? Unable to retrieve content because the page is navigating and changing the content. Ah, okay. This is very important. Okay. What I can do is, okay, I'll have to apply the weight over there. Okay. Okay, DOM content loaded. Let's do one thing. Let's try it on the load part. Okay. Load event. Let's try it on the load event. So I'll say the load event. In this case, it should have been loaded, right? It should have been loaded. It should have been loaded. See, okay, what you can do is you can see, I want to just prove a point that this code runs twice, right? Now it's a different case that it is saying that that I wanted to collect the content and I'm trying to do it, but the page is still changing, right? And I cannot guarantee that whatever I will show you is the final version of it, right? Because it is still in the transition to get rendered. That is what it's saying, right? So if I change this to document that DOM content loaded again, okay, why it is not showing me this? DOM content loaded. If I just print here, not this, let's say if I say uh, DOM content loaded, let's say if I do this, right, and if I run it, come on, run it. Test case 17. This again has been triggered. Let's see. I hope it was, oh, it was throwing at this time or this time. I should have commented this also. It was throwing at content, right? So this is not, it will again throw the same error. Let me. I'll have to run it again, I believe. Fail again. Come on, man. This is too slow. You see, right? It said DOM content loaded. This got printed. Okay, I think these changes have been taking place. So you see, right? It is getting printed twice. Why? It is getting printed. Okay. I'm not breaking, right? I'm audible. Right, everyone?
Yes,
Yes, actually, you're audible.
yes,
Okay. Okay. So if you see, right, this time it has printed this twice, right? Why? Because this event was fired twice. One for this and second for this, right? Why this is not working? Because the content method, right, wanted this to load this completely, right? So it would not work on DOM content loader, but we can do certain other things if we wish to. Okay. But my objective was to tell you that this is the action which it is taking, right? And it will happen every time you run this. Okay. Let's take the other example very quickly. I'll just stop this code, which is to apply the other thing, right? So let's just remove this. This is how the code look like, right? If I do not want to apply this page.on, right? What I will do is, this is one of the technique, right? Yes, Hassan, please.
Okay, so what is the purpose of this on method? Like, listening to that, to make sure
Let's
that
say,
the
let's say,
don't.
let's say you are waiting for that event, some event to occur. Let's say you are waiting that if, let's say, somehow the page got closed, right? Let's say some page got closed, and you want to do what? You want to say that, okay, if the page is getting closed, I would like to clean up something, right? I would like to clean up something, right? Every time the page is getting closed. So how? And let's say you do not have a control on like when the page will get closed. Getting it?
Mhm.
If you do not have, if you have the control, then you don't need this, right? You do not need this browser at on. You can, once you will close the browser, you can specify the action to be taken afterwards. But it is very vital in those cases where you do not know when the that particular event will happen, right? It can
Yes.
happen anytime. Let's say you are running a test case, and certainly, and in midway the test case crashed, your application crashed, and your browser got your CPU power is taken too much, and now it is not working, and the browser crashed. Now once the browser is crashing, right, the event will be fired. Okay, the page has been closed. And once the page would have been closed, let's say there is certain action which you wanted to take of cleanup activities. So in all those cases, this can be very helpful,
Yes.
right? Okay, great. So what we were discussing, why it ran it twice? I did not run it. Okay, maybe by mistake I ran it. Okay, so what I was saying, yeah, I have to run. I was showing you the other approach, right? Which is page dot wait for event. Wait for event. Okay. Here again, you define the events which you wanted to listen to. Let's say I'm saying DOM content loaded again. But in this case, right, you cannot define the function here, right? You cannot define the function here. But this wait for event, right, returns you the page, right? The page. Again, I have spent the entire class on just to explain this wait for event and the on method, right, in the context of the browser context, right? So if you wanted to understand the difference, please watch that chapter, and I'm sure things will get clarified. Okay, but for the time being, I'll just do this part. uh, Let p2 equals to page. So you can see I have defined a listener here, right? Just the listener. Now the actions are being taken in this line, right? And after the action is taken, now I am using this with the intent that I wanted to run it in the controlled way, right? So I know that the page would be loaded here, right? And I would like to, let's say, print something here. So what I will do is I will say p2, uh, okay, I will say wait p2, and I would like to do something on it, which is to p2 dot await p2 dot, let's say, I would like to get the URL of it. I would like to get the URL of it using this method, right? And URL gives me what? It's a string value, right? It's a string value. or let's say I would like to get a title of it. Title will return me a promise, right? Title. And to do this, I'll have to put another await, and I will collect it here. Let title equals to this, right? Console.log title of the page is title. Now, if you see, right, this is the listener which I have specified, right, and this is the event. This is where the event will get fired. Once the event will get fired, this listener, right, would be resolved. If you see, right, wait for event returns your promise, right. After line number 539, if you look at it in sequence, after this line, right, P2 is assigned a value, right, of this wait for event, which is a promise of page, right. But what is the state of that promise? It is pending state, right. It has not been resolved. When that promise will be resolved? Once this event has been fired, right. This event has been fired. Where is the event getting fired? It is getting fired at this line. As part of this line execution, the event will be fired, and as soon as the event gets fired, this wait for event method, right, will be notified by Playwright, right. And as soon as it is notified, it will resolve the promise from pending to the fulfilled, right. So now P2, right, P2 will have the access to the object, the data object, which is being received from that promise, which is what? The page object, which is the page object. So P2 will be pointing to the page where this page has been loaded. And now you're doing what? You're writing the action to be taken once the event has been fired, which is this part. So here you're doing what? You are awaiting for P2. You're awaiting for the P2. You're waiting, right? Okay. I wanted to wait for the P2 to happen, right? And it would get completed, right? Once this action has been taken. I mean, this event has been fired, right? And from that P2, right? Since P2 gives you the access to the page, you can do what? You can get the title from it. And I'm getting the title and I'm printing it, right? But this is getting printed at this line. At this line at 546, you can see the event is again getting fired, right? Event is getting fired. But will this action be taken again? No, this will not be fired again, right? The action will not be taken again because you have not writing it specifically afterwards, right? But if you remember in case of on method, you could see, right, this action was being taken every time the event was getting fired. Okay, so let's run it and see what is happening. You will see this getting printed only once. Okay, let's do it very quickly. The same way the DOM content loaded event is working, the load will work, right? Close will work similar to what if you close the page, right? Page.close, the close event works. Console works when you have some console messages printed in the console tab of the browser, right? Of that particular page. Okay. So I think that is very we have covered all of that right earlier, so I'm not covering it again. I hope you are understanding the point. My intention was to cover this wait for event and this on method for the page level. And there are two more things pending. Let me just do it very quickly. Wait for URL and wait for load state, right? That's it. So you can see, right? The first page was loaded, which was the this page, right? And the second page, right? This event was fired here also, right? But as the output of this event, the action was not taken again. It was happening only once, right? So, right, this is how it works. Okay, great. I hope you understood this. And if not, please, I would encourage everyone to please go back and check that chapter, right, where we have discussed this wait for event and comparison of page for event and on method. Okay, great. Let's very quickly go to the two remaining items, which is the wait for URL. So what we'll do is we do not need this test case. Let me just skip this test case. I will copy this test case and we'll just move ahead. Skip part. Let's remove this test case 18, and we need. Let's remove all this. We are looking to have page dot wait for load state, right? Load state. If you look at this method here, right? You are saying wait for load state, right? Returns when the required load state has been reached. This resolves when the page reaches the required load state, load by default, right? So what happens here, right? Let's say, um, I mean, again, right? You do not have to specify this because by default, if the page navigation is happening, right, it by default waits for the load state to achieve, right? So this could be used in those cases where you might have changed the default way of the loading strategy, right? Right. Let's say you are saying go to here, and you say wait until, right? Let's say wait. Okay. Let's say you have specified wait until as uh, DOM content loaded, right? Let's say you're doing this. You have done this. Now what you're doing is you're saying wait for load state, and you're saying I would like to wait till it achieves the load state, like this. Okay. And this returns you what? It returns you the access to the, it does not return you anything. Okay, so wait for load state, and it has to be a promise. Let me collect it somewhere. Okay, wait for load state. So what we'll do is we'll just cut it out and we'll place it like here, right? And I will put await to it, right? So what will happen here is, although you have changed on the top like that, I want this strategy to be used, but here, right, it gives you the power, right, to still extend your wait until the loading has been complete, right? Again, this might not be useful to you, right? Because you will never be using this part. You will be anyhow using the loads by default strategy, right? So if you use it, you can understand that this is already been taken care as part of this method only, right? So it's like a duplicate thing which you're doing. Okay. But if it was like this thing, then it makes sense, right? This is one thing, right? Load thing. This next part. Again, let me just see, right? I'm writing the code accordingly. Page here, right? Wait for load state, right? If you see, returns when the required load has been reached, right? So okay, see, if you see this, right, in this case, right, this would be good in those cases where if you click on a certain button or something, right, which results into navigation, right, which results into navigation. So let's say there is a button somewhere, right? Let's say there is a page, there is a page, right? There's a page which you're currently working on, and there is a button, right? Uh, uh, let's say submit, right? Submit, right? There's a submit button you click, right? And as soon as you click submit, right, what happen is it will navigate to the next page, right? Which is the home page, right? Home page, right? And let's say, although by default there also, right, it would wait for the load strategy to achieve. But let's say what you can do is you can also specifically say wait for load state, and you can specify which load state to wait for, and you can specify load here, right? I mean this load part or whatever strategy you want to use. So in those cases, this could be helpful. Okay. Now the next part, the last thing, which is this wait for URL. Wait for the main frame to navigate to the given URL, right? If let's say you have again, right? If let's say you have clicked on some thing, right, on a link, on a button, right, and now what happens is it will navigate to a certain different page, right? Now instead of waiting on the loading strategy, what you can do also do is you can use wait for URL, right? And you can specify which URL, right, it should get loaded for you, so that you will keep waiting for it until that is loaded. You don't want to use, right? So let's say again, right, I do not have a use case to show you, but as of now, just understand, right? Wait for URL. You took some action on top, right? You took some action. Action is done here, right? The event is fired here, right, on top, and then you're waiting for certain action to happen. Let's say you are saying wait for URL, which is HTTPS, that pot test or something, right? So this is just a waiting mechanism, right? This is just a waiting mechanism. Here you cannot specify, I believe, certain action to be taken. Let me just check. Right, you can't specify anything. It is just a waiting. It's just like a waiting strategy, right? Wait for URL and wait for load state. Both in both the cases, right? You just wait. You do not do any actions on it, right? If you want to take some actions, that for that you have only wait for event or the on method. I hope it is clear, right? We will revisit wait for URL and wait for load state if required in our discussion of the timeout. Yeah, I think someone was asking something. Yeah, please.
I just remembered a mechanism on a site where there was a login page, and when we click, when we try to submit the credentials, it redirects to a different page, even though the target page was a different one. So we
Right.
had to for basically that concept is called like tenant, different tenant that it needs to be redirected to. Once
Right.
once it figure out the local of your region, and based on that, it transfers to your to a correct site instead of the very next URL that needs to be there.
Right.
So maybe in that case we can use this mechanism.
Yes, right. See, again, as the name says, right? See, wait for URL and wait for load state, right, are like waiting mechanism, right, which are given at the page level. So in whatever actions you take, right, and it results into that kind of an output, and you would like to wait until you achieve that state. So these two methods can be adjusted there, right? These are not those methods where you can define certain action to be taken once that state is achieved. No, it does what? It just waits, right? It just waits for that event to complete. That's it, right? But if you wanted to take some action once that event is happening, for that you have only two ways to do it. One is using an on method, and second is to wait for event, where you can define some action to be taken, right? But what you said is correct, right? That is the kind of a scenario where you would like to apply this.
Okay.
Okay, great, right? I think we are done for today. We have seen all the thing, right, on this page level, and I think we are good. And tomorrow we can start with the locators working at the element level. Okay, so let's wind it up here, and we'll meet tomorrow if no other queries.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Good day.